Hello, everybody, and welcome to an exciting Line Pro Dev live session. Today, we're unpacking the future of scalable computing in our discussion. Cloud 2.0, what's next for scalable computing? So, the cloud has transformed the way we work, collaborate, and innovate, but what lies ahead? Whether you're a tech enthusiast, a professional looking to upskill, or a business leader exploring digital transformation, this session is for you. Joining me is a brilliant mind behind Line Pro Dev, our visionary founder, Mr. Philip Cutting. Philip, it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, thank you, Rahima. I really appreciate that. I'm thrilled to be here, and if only I were so brilliant. Cloud computing has really evolved at lightning speed, and understanding where it's heading is critical for us to stay relative. I'm looking forward to diving into this fast-paced, lightning this kind of discussion and topic we have here with our audience today.
Awesome, Philip. Let's make this an engaging and a insightful hour for everybody tuned in. And shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Let's get the stage. And Phil, in simple terms, what does Cloud 2.0 mean, and how does it build on the foundation of cloud we've come to know?
Okay, so that's a great question. There's two sides to Cloud 2.0. One is where scalability meets intelligence, right? It's not just
Mhm.
about storing data or running applications remotely anymore. It's about seamless integration with AI, real-time analytics, cutting edge technologies, and even kind of having the technology carry the human influence rather than the human influence give an impression to the technology. It's kind of twisted, right? But think of it as the cloud that not only adopts to your needs, but predicts them so well that you're on autopilot. And it's a shift from the utility vision that we usually have of the cloud. The second side of the cloud 2.0 is it's
Yeah.
about bringing the cloud into reach of the enterprise or even the individual, but mostly we see it on larger scale players because of the cost savings in the mass. There's a couple of reasons why enterprises or even individuals might consider doing this cloud concept at home, and some of it is based off of privacy or regulations or just the customer relationship, or it's a government relationship. For example, if you're doing products in China, you've got to take that cloud there, right? So you got to have an infrastructure in place. Now, maybe you use some of their systems, but you can also create local clouds, which
Mhm.
is the kind of like the new philosophy of where the cloud is going. So we normally thought of the cloud as this big beautiful place out there in space, and we imagine satellites and all kinds of stuff. And there are a few big players, but
Mhm.
recently, in not even recently, like five for the past 5 years, I can't think of any one product that I made that only used one cloud service, right? So with the advent of AI and the ability to scale locally, uh, it's just kind of changing the game. That's why we have Cloud 2.0.
Definitely, that is pretty fascinating. As someone who works closely with marketing strategies, I've seen how Cloud 2.0 is enabling brands to create hyper-personalized customer experiences at scale. Speaking of innovation, Phil, what industries do you think are at the forefront of leveraging this next phase of cloud computing?
There's no way around it. We have healthcare,
Mhm.
financial tech, e-commerce are leading the charge in this. And from the predictive algorithms of healthcare analytics to the personalized shopping experience and systems learning users' individual preferences, Cloud 2.0 is driving huge breakthroughs in not just creating better experiences, more sales, and higher profitability. It's creating a better user experience. It's creating a better humanity, not humanity, but it's creating a better environment, or it's adding comfort to our lives. But it's also opening doors for smaller players to innovate at a lower cost point. And as you know, I love entrepreneurship, so how not to dig into that?
I was spot on, and it's exciting to think about opportunities this creates for startups as well and SMBs. It's truly a democratizing force. And moving on to the other question, let's talk skills now. With these advancements, what does the ideal skill set look like for someone aiming to thrive in Cloud 2.0 landscape?
Okay, so really good question. To excel in this space, you need a few things, right? And
Mhm.
I'm so happy we had this topic today. Just today at lunch, one of my friends said to was saying he's another CEO, and he was saying somebody asked me, one of my good friends asked me, how do I educate my son? What degree do I send him to? He's about ready for college. It's a senior year. He's trying to figure out where to go in 5 years. And we had this huge discussion, and it's really all about this, right? So, at the high level, one is technical skills, mastery of cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Learn what's already out there and how it's working. Get familiar with that so that you have a base understanding. Second is data proficiency, the
Mhm.
ability to analyze and interpret data is super critical. And I put this into the critical thought and creativity process. Now, people are going to like be throwing crayons on me right now. I know data sounds boring, but that ability to think creatively, like
Mhm.
sometimes the kid with a crayon can answer questions better than us adults who have been overeducated and have too rigid of a structure. Creativity is going to be one of the key currencies in the future. Creativity, attention, and the ability to persist, right? The
Mhm.
third skill is I'm going to pick because I want to peg it at three. I'm going to say cybersecurity acumen, right? The ability to understand security and how to monitor and adapt to situations that come up, because just where technology is going, you're going to get hacked, right? The question is how vulnerable are your systems? How quickly do you respond? How good is your cybersecurity, right? That's the three biggest skills for me, um, in a nutshell, right? So on top of this, obviously with that creativity is where I put adaptability. If you don't have that, you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to get anxious. Relax. I think meditation is going to be like part of that creative skill process. um, just know that the cloud ecosystem, it's going to evolve. It's been evolving rapidly. It hasn't slowed down. I don't even know how many services AWS has by itself, but I'm
Mhm.
sure it's over 300. And I don't know any one person. I don't know, not even between my security experts, my AWS experts, the guys that I have that can create systems from the ground up, not even myself, who I feel like is, walking on water, right? Knows all of their systems, right? I couldn't even list them out to you. So it's huge. There's just so much out there, right? And the ability to understand concepts, to group them, and to just have that open comfort with continuous learning is going to put you into a huge lead over other people. And as things go along.
Well, I believe that was pretty spot on. And I'd like to add that the soft skills like critical thinking and collaboration are equally important. The best escalations often come from the teams that communicate pretty effectively. For somebody starting their career, Phil, what's the best way to gain these skills?
This is fun, right? Because I also think of my children. How would I
Hmm.
how do I encourage my children, right? So
Yeah.
first, start small but aim high. Online certifications such as AWS or Microsoft Azure are great entry points. Pair that with real world projects like anything with many cloud platforms, and take advantage of these free tiers that are available to us to learn stuff and experiment. Uh, AWS has a massive flexibility in the free tier usage if you manage it well. And there's a lot of courses that teach you how to do that, right? So have fun, experiment. Don't forget to engage in open source communities because these are just gold mines for learning and networking, especially. Now, if you're younger, like when I'm looking at my kids, my 20-year-old, he's grown up. So let's assume he's a lost cause, right? That advice I just gave was for him. My 5 and 10-year-olds, I treat them a little bit differently, right? My 5-year-old, I have him with an Arduino kit, basically a little microcontroller kit, and he's learning how to put things together, write a little bit of a code, and make flashing lights. My 10-year-old, he's learning to work with the same thing, but with speakers, with sensors, to write C++ code, and to think conceptually. Now,
That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and the purpose isn't to make my son, my 10-year-old or my 5-year-old learn how C++. That's useless, right? Totally useless. If somebody says, "Hey, Phil, should I go learn programming?" I'm like, maybe, right? But what's your core reason for it? So with me, my kids, they're learning this to get comfortable with technology so that they can rapidly adapt to new concepts, right? So they're getting used to the hardware level. I'm having them learn a little bit of programming, not because they're going to program, but AI is going to do that for them in the future, like the near future, 5 years, I'm thinking. But I want them to understand how to see it, to read it, to think logically. And then after that, I am still having my 10-year-old, of course, my 5-year-old, but my 10-year-old, I'm still having him finger paint and do crazy, creative, silly stuff where he's like, "Dad, I'm a little bit old for this." I'm like, "Okay, cool, but I'm here with you, and now it's going to be fun." Right. So I want to encourage that creativity and that youthful um curiosity, right? If I could give one gift to my kids, it would be curiosity balanced by the confidence they can go and try things, experiment, fail, and have fun with it. If you learn how to fail small, you're going to do amazing.
Well, that was nice. Networking. Now, if networking is another crucial element in navigating the cloud 2.0 era. Phil, in an increasingly digital world, how can professionals build meaningful connections?
So I don't know a time in history
Mm-hmm.
where networking has ever been more accessible and more important thanks to digital platforms. So here's my voice. Join LinkedIn groups and forums relevant to your fields of your core competencies, but also your interests. And I don't want you joining like 5 groups or 10 or 100 unless you're a social butterfly, right? But if you're a human, right? 2 groups, something you're curious about and something in your field, so you stay abreast of both, right? And to kind of develop uh in both ways, right? I'm a big fan of finding a hobby that matches your interests. Second is actively participate in webinars and virtual tech conferences. So calls just like this, get on there, challenge me, call me out, say, "Hey, Phil, I think you're crazy on that. I'll have some fun with that discussion with you." But do that in a friendly way with other people in small groups and go to conferences to learn from these guys and see what it is and expand to be challenged, right? If you're going someplace and they're just kind of, you're like, "Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying," then you're not being challenged enough. So have some fun and get a little bit of diversity in there so that you get challenged and you push yourself and sometimes even feel like the dumbest guy in the room. Uh, I'm happiest when I am the dumbest guy in the room, believe me, right? When I'm the poorest, dumbest guy in the room, I'm in the right place by many blessings. Don't just
Well, I
consume
love that.
content. Thank you. Thank you. It's
Mhm.
you know me. I strive for that kind of getting out there and to be around some
Yeah.
real challenging and creative people. It's fun. I think we all really love that deep inside. Like,
Yeah, you
yeah, it's
encouraged me
cool.
to do so as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Right. And you're amazing. So you should. You're like one of those people that are way smarter than me anyway. So I'm
That's
blessed to
sweet.
be in this room with you. The
Thank
also
you. Yeah.
this makes me crazy. Just don't consume content. Create it. Share your insights and projects. Make them your own. Create your niche and your interest and tailor projects to that. Make them your own. It's so easy to go watch a YouTube video and just copy and paste and do what he says, but challenge yourself. Say, "Okay, how do I throw a wrench into this?" Right? How if I was a little demon, little monster, on the shoulder, right? The little red guy on the right shoulder. What would I do to kind of have fun here? Have fun with that, right?
Mhm.
And you'll be surprised that this kind of challenge and diversity helps attract like-minded individuals, even if it's you feel like it's weird to express yourself, right? Don't feel it's weird to express
Mhm.
yourself. Um, while we're not all the best versions of ourselves, we all are made in God's image. So go out there, be brave, and get better. Um, I think the last thing I'd say is
Mhm.
if you're interested in this field, the cloud 2.0 or
Mhm.
future of 3.0, right? Learn about
Yes.
Docker and Kubernetes with clustering, right? Get 3 Raspberry Pis. It could be a version 3, 4. The 5 is a little bit more expensive, right? I think the 4 might be kind of like the cheapest medium for this kind of fun project. Get 3 of them and make a little cluster. And if you
Mhm.
found that you had a great time with that, then this is in your blood.
That's nice. I love that. For example, I found participating in LinkedIn discussions invaluable for building professional relationships and staying informed. But Phil, how does somebody overcome the intimidation factor, especially when reaching out to the industry leaders?
That's a great question. We all have fears, and this might be one of people's biggest fears. And to
Mhm.
be honest, I feel it myself sometimes, right? So nobody that I know is immune to this feeling, right? Start by just
Absolutely.
having some genuine engagement, right? Be authentic, be yourself, right? Comment on their posts and share thoughtful insights, or even just have some fun around discussion, right? Try not to be a troll, but if you're going to be a troll with some style, right? And
Yeah.
do it in a way that's it's okay for you to leave your name. If you're ever being a troll and you say, I'm not going to put my name there, cut it off, right? But if you're trolling and you're okay with putting your name behind it, and you're kind of like giving and playing some, that's okay, right? That's kind of okay. That's playful, right? That's not exactly trolling anymore. The so it's not a and it's not about just how much you post questions or get out there, right? So don't try to, just as I said, find 2 communities, right? Don't try to go out there and find 100 people to connect with. I am a big fan of finding early on, defining your dream 5. Some people call it the dream 10, but I kind of like the dream 5 because you know when you start really digging into it, 10 is a lot, right? So find your dream 5 people or companies that you like to connect with and start connecting with them. Um, and just be authentic about it, be out there. And over time, you're going to see that you're going to make some real connections. Don't expect it to be over a month. Don't go out there with the purpose of I need to get 2 hours. I'm going to give 2 hours of my time and I should get this back in a week or two. No, just go out there and have
Yeah,
some fun with this. This is personal growth.
absolutely right. So let's pivot to careers now. And the cloud computing industry is definitely booming, but it's also a bit competitive. So, what advice would you give professionals looking to advance their careers in this field?
Oh, sure. So two key pieces of advice. One, focus on
Mhm.
emerging trends. So stay ahead
Okay.
by exploring technologies like Kubernetes, I already mentioned, edge computing, AI integrations, right? These are kind of the big trends, and they're fun that you can get your hands dirty with per se, right? Two is showcase your work. Build a portfolio that demonstrates your experience. Uh, have a GitHub profile or a personal website, and these little things make a huge difference over time. On GitHub, here's one thing I love about GitHub, right? You go to GitHub, you're going to see your profile, and if you can make almost all those blocks green or some kind of color so that it shows the
Mhm.
activity that you've been doing, then you've been consistent over a long time, right? Now, as you get into your career, that's not a great indicator because there's so many different repositories and there's private repositories and stuff like that. But in the beginning, it's kind of a great way to show how consistent you are, right? Employers look for this, right? So if you can fill up that little timeline for like a year, right? That's great. Now, unfortunately, it takes a person a while to develop these mental processes, to develop resilience and to show this. But 1 year, 6 months or a year it focus, and this little GitHub hack that I'm talking about is going to help keep you there and give you a visual track of how consistent you are in a way that other people see you, right? So know that it's public and let that drive
Yeah,
you.
well, yeah. So, well, that's an invaluable advice for sure. And I'd emphasize personal branding, whether it's through writing blogs, hosting webinars, or even creating LinkedIn posts. Building your professional identity is definitely really essential. So, Phil, which career roles do you think are the most in demand as Cloud 2.0 gains traction?
This whole call is almost like the discussion we had with my peers today. So roles like cloud architecture, data scientists, DevOps, DevOps engineers are going to be hot right now. They're going to be hot for a long time, right? But there's also
Mhm.
growing need for hybrid roles, people who can bridge technology experience with business strategy, like cloud product manager or consultants. The if you I don't know how else to say this, right? If you are in like your third or fourth year of college right now, you need to sprint. You need to make some
Mhm.
serious projects out there and to show your value and to learn these skills that I just said here, especially architecture, especially critical thought process, especially DevOps, right? Because these are going to be the cornerstones for building any future going to the project based off the speed we're going to have with AI development coming up.
Well, that's one thing. And now, Phil, uh, I believe we're gonna. This has been such an insightful session with you. Before we wrap up, there's one takeaway you'd like our audience to leave with today. So the first question we're gonna have is, how do you see Cloud 2.0 shaping the future of work? That's from you to you.
Yeah. So there's going to be a few coins, right? Of this one. On one side of the coin, we're going to have systems where things are so intelligent. The cloud with AI is so well informed that the human is the servant of the cloud. You're going to just be
Mhm.
sitting there responding, relaying messages, or just doing some tasks that aren't efficient for systems to do. This is going to be within the next year or two, 2 years, 3 years max. The other side of that is that we're going to have access to a APIs and systems and tools like we never had before. Right now, we have to go to like Google Cloud for image for OCR for image to text reading, right? To get text off images or to process images or to process sound or to do manipulation of certain things or to get access to text to speech, right? Those are all things we're calling out to the cloud right now. Now we're always going to have to call out to get specialized data like stock markets, right? Those are things that we'll
Mhm.
always have to go out to the general cloud for. But we're going to have this new cloud 2.0 where we have can put all this on our own network and control that and not rely on other cloud systems, right? So how is this going to shape our ability in the future? We're going to have to understand how to create APIs, how to make sure we secure our data, how to build some architecture and some physical layers, and how to how to create local AI systems rather than
Mhm.
reaching out of our networks. And it really seems like it's going there rapidly.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. And Phil, there's another question that we're having from our audience is what industries are expected to benefit the most from Cloud 2.0, and what use cases are emerging as as its key drivers?
That's a really good question. So right now, obviously, the big players that taking advantage of it are FinTech, healthcare, and
Mhm.
um, probably games are the big ones. I think going in the future, gaming and entertainment. I'm going to group gaming and entertainment. I think that's not very fair, but I'm going to group them anyways. So games and entertainment, I think, are going to be a big one because you're going to have these customized experience with the internal cloud control and privacy that maybe even your like, can you imagine you on your augmented reality glasses, you can have your own cloud 2.0 with almost all the services except for lifetime fees that you can just get from the world, right? So those are one thing. I don't know how it's the medical industry is going to change to this, but I know it's going to be significant, but it's already using it a lot, right? Um, I know there's a big push that on your own phone, you'll have all the ability to scan things and do general health checks. There's I've worked with rings that can tell your blood pressure, how much you sleep, if you're having heart problems, to some degree, right? It before long, I suspect those little critters are going to
Mhm.
be able to check your diabetes, do EKGs, who knows what else they'll be able to do, right? Maybe they'll even be able to scan your food for you while you're taking a fork to see if it's a high likelihood that it's poisoned or not poisoned, but with bacteria or a problem like that, right?
Mhm.
So I see big changes in in that effect coming, and the there's a combination, and I don't know exactly what to call it, but the wearable technology, IoT that's wearable, and the combining that with augmented reality, I think is really going to change the way that we see the world. Of course, it's going to change the way we see the world. It's going to just give our right. That's almost silly for me to say it like that. But if you can see my vision of like people walking around just natural ability, but having so much data in their hands, it'd be kind of freaky, right? Can you like? No, I'm not even going to go there. You'd
Okay,
be like
so yeah.
Superman.
Yeah, that we're gonna be after that. So yeah, so we're gonna take another question from the audience. What is Cloud 2.0 and how is it different from the current cloud technologies?
Oh, so that's a fun question, right? So current cloud technologies, we have a lot. You think AWS, Azure, you think any kind of API in the cloud that you're able to use, cloud storage, any way that you're able to offload processing from your device, right? Be it a phone,
Mhm.
ring, a jacket, right? The implant that Elon puts in your head, right? Any of that you put out in there, that's the current cloud, right? The next cloud is more about going beyond code, right? Just the raw functions that we write and saying to the cloud, "Hey, I need blah blah blah." And it returning it to you, right? It creating itself its own algorithms and functions and APIs to serve you rather than you programming it. It's going to program itself and supply the needs that you have. That's the one side. The other side is uh you're not going to be relying as much on Google Cloud and on
Mhm.
AWS, and you're going to bring that in shop, right? Your company is going to be able to have all that technology on some small hardware that maybe sits in your desk and has redundancies two or three places around the world, but isn't based off of current large cloud scale systems. It's kind of a funny way to mesh your head around having reality in virtual reality and real reality mixed together, right? That's kind of what cloud
Mhm.
2.0 is doing. It's going to outsmart
Okay.
us, and we're going to love it. What
Yeah,
does
right.
Charles
That
Schwab
we're
say? You're going to
already
own
loving.
nothing and you're going to be happy.
Okay, so there's another question that is pretty interesting. What role does 5G connectivity play in enabling the full potential of cloud, especially in terms of latency and real-time data processing?
So if you're asking that question, you know how fast 5G is, right? And I've heard
Mhm.
rumors of 6G, which is kind of scary. I imagine like I'm sitting in a microwave. The
Okay.
but the we have now data transfer
Mhm.
that's maybe faster than we can think,
Mhm.
right? I can now transfer a whole movie in like an hour movie in 30 seconds, and I can't think through an hour of visual entertainment in 30 seconds meaningfully. So now data transfer is faster than we can visually process things or process things naturally, right? Now there is some latency, and there's always going to be latency and data corruption and all that. But I think that while 5G is huge and will bring it to the masses because we now don't need physical infrastructure, it's not that big of a deal to me compared to the technology shift and the creativity shift, which is kind of like what's great about people, right? You take a concept and you multiply its value by giving it our ingenuity and creativity, at least for
Right.
now.
So, yeah, right. So another question from here is, how will Cloud 2.0 impact sustainability goals in technology, particularly in optimizing energy consumption and reducing carbon footprints?
So, good question. I don't know will it actually benefit us in the short term. I think it's up to us
Mhm.
to create really efficient means of um, energy creation, right? So maybe fusion will come soon, and I would love to see that. I hope I see it in the next 4 or 5 years. That would be amazing. I don't feel like we can really rely on solar and wind power as much as we were hoping it was going to be. The I think that kind of slowed down about a decade ago, and I was really hoping to see more out of it. But as far as the cloud goes, we're seeing ways to better deliver goods. And if we really use it, we're going to have some innovations that will help us figure out where to put farms, where to, what's the best way to deliver products that will still get them fresh, still have great access to supplies and predict the community's need for bananas and for fruit and potatoes and steak and all that stuff, right? So it'll make sure that we have that supply in a way that has minimal waste. And these are algorithms
Mhm.
that we're going to continue to develop. But I think actually this has come pretty far this year. And I've even seen like solar power drones be delivering stuff, which is like insane. Right? Can you imagine a solar powered drone bringing your package or bringing you lunch rather than having a guy in a car delivering that and using all that energy and consumption? But all that said, I do love my diesel guzzling trucks. So I hope the cloud doesn't destroy those.
Okay, that was a good one. That was a really good one. So, with data security and compliance being critical concerns, how does Cloud 2.0 addresses these challenges more effectively than traditional cloud models?
I don't know if it does actually. Um,
Mhm.
so the on the side of the coin where you're bringing those technologies into where you can physically control them, feasibly there's less people that has access to it, and that's great, right? You don't have to worry about Google or Amazon abusing your data, right? Because if
Mhm.
somebody else controls it physically, you don't know, right? But on the other side of that, it's really hard to give a huge amount of physical and um infrastructure security to anything that you have to control, right? If you try to go into AWS server space, you'll probably get shot,
Mhm.
right? They don't allow those guys like guns there. Are you going to have that in home, right? So that there is that give and take, and that's a challenge. That's why I'm like, yeah, I see the reason for me to have a version of Dropbox at home where I can just put the stuff on my hard drive and my local hard drive and have it accessible and not worry about somebody hacking Dropbox to see, my photos or my grandma's secret recipe. But on the other side, how diligent can I be to protect my own network and to maintain that, right? I think this is going to be interesting with tools that come up because we going to start our security is the security industry is really using AI a lot right now, right? To both crack and protect systems. It's just going to accelerate because now with China released a open source version of something that's a little bit better performant than OpenAI's 401 preview, right? 4.0 preview. So can you imagine that an 8-year-old could, without knowing what he's doing, download this open AI system, have it teach him how to hack a system, go and hack a system, and maybe cause massive economical losses to people, right? But he's 8 years old. He doesn't know what he's doing. How do you fight against this, right? So obviously the
Absolutely.
way to fight with it is through really robust security systems and monitoring it, setting up proper physical structures and gateways in between that help protect data and separation of data and encryption. But in 5 years, if Elon has his way, you've seen his supercomputers, right? He
Yeah.
has I don't know if it's true or not, right? But I was watching some news where he had a what is this quantum computer,
Mhm.
right? So if he really has this
Okay.
quantum computer, right, then it's 5 years away from maybe being generally accessible to people, or 10 years away, right? So if we're getting close to that,
Well,
what do you
that's
do then, right? It's going to
definitely.
change the way we think about
Yeah.
security and our personal space. And of course, if you're
Yeah.
starting to plan
That's
physical things,
interesting.
now you're in cloud 2.0. Wow.
Oh, well, that was fun. That was fun to know as well. So, Phil, this has certainly been a very insightful session here. Before we wrap up, what's the one takeaway you'd like our audience to leave with today?
So cloud 2 it's more than just a technology shift, right? It's a mindset shift. So stay
Mhm.
curious, embrace continuous learning, focus on creating value and creativity and not just adapting to change, right? Try to drive some change, try to get ahead of the curve. Even if you can't, it's cool, right? The future of scalable computing is full of
Mhm.
opportunities. Grab them with both hands, right? I hope I can get what you're saying that, and have some fun.
Yeah, wise words, Phil. And I'd like to add that as we navigate this exciting evolution, remember to stay connected, stay curious, and never stop asking questions. Thank you so much, Phil, for sharing your expertise with us today. And thank you to everybody who joined us. Please give us a big thumbs up, like and share our videos, and follow us. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and let's shape the future together. And have a great day ahead.
Hey, Rima. Ciao.